Good morning, Rutherford County. It's good to be with you again today. This is Connie Davies, and I'm here today with Rafael and Daniele Pagan. Now, this is a young couple that I have known for many, many years. I met both of them back in the 90s, early 90s, and we were talking about it a moment ago. I said, I met these young ones when they were smaller than me, and I'm only 4'11", so that goes back a long time. But I met Rafael in Brazil, actually. I had gone there for a seminar and had taken my son, Justin, and I ended up working in the children's church there, helping out with the young ones during that seminar, and I met Rafael. And I have loved this young man. He's always been very special to me. We've kind of grown up together because now Rafael and Danielle have a son that's in my grandson's class. So their son, my grandson, are in K-5 together. So I get to see them a lot. I just love this couple. They're so precious. I met Danielle, and she reminded me of in 1992. I didn't realize it had gone back that far. She was 9 years old at the time. So I've known these young people 25, 26 years or more. And they are just so dear, like all of our young couples in our church. But I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm going to let Danielle and Rafael tell you about their lives, how they got to Rutherford County from Brazil and Connecticut, how they met, and how God has worked in their lives ever since. Here's Rafael Pagan.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. Just want to tell you a little bit about my story and how God really moved mountains and, saved me from death several times. My name Rafael means God heals. Rafa means God heals, and that's been truth in my life because even before I was born, when my mom was expecting me, she had several complications during her, she was expecting me. I was actually born premature. They thought, at the time I was maybe 8 months old, but then when they did, later they did some tests and found out I had to have been younger than that, maybe 6 months old, because the cartilage on my chest wasn't formed, and as I breathed, it would make noise, because everything so soft still, it wasn't totally formed, and it was a very difficult time for my mom. Understand that, they pretty much told my mom that we were doing the surgery to, get me delivered just so she would leave, that I would die. I wouldn't make it, and if I did make it, I would have been, retarded, would have been, have physical problems, and, it was doomed for sure. We're doing this to save you, not to, So I understand my mom had a hard time that time, but against everything that the devil had to say, here I am. I've now 36 years old, and I'm fine. When I was born, another miracle that happened right away was, first the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck. So if I had a regular birth, it would have been dead for sure. So God took care of that right then. And then I was born missing a bone in my foot. They said, it was too early, didn't have time to form or whatnot. And maybe a few days later, they did another x-ray and there was the bone. And to this day, my foot's not totally straight because the tendon didn't form. They had to do a surgery to extend the tendon. But, that's, I'm grateful to God. I mean, I'm just glad to be able to walk, to run, be with my son and whatnot. But those are just little things but when you look back and it wasn't there. They had proof there was no bone. And days later, my mom, best she knew, prayed to God and tried, and there it happened. And a little bit later, about 3 years old, my mom was putting me to sleep, me and my sister to sleep. She tells me she was reading me the Bible in, I think it was the story of Gideon, and I was 3 years old, and she was putting me to bed, and I fell asleep, but she knew there was something more to that when I fell asleep. If something wasn't right, there again, my mom was going to church, but she church doesn't know as much as we know. God has taught us along the way, but she knew something was wrong, and she tried to wake me up. She couldn't wake me up, and she tried and tried and tried, and then she took off running. And there was a doctor that lived nearby, and she got the doctor in there, and he said, "Get this child to the hospital. Get him right in the hospital right now." They got me in the hospital, and I mean, this is 1980, late 80s, so it's not the technology you have today and whatnot. But they took it, and they said they put him in the ICU, and I was in coma, and there was no reason. They couldn't find anything wrong with me, and for a whole week I was in coma. Didn't respond to anything. They just pretty much left me there, and my mom would pray best, just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed to God that, God, you gave me this child, please, you promised to me. And it got to the point that some people started bringing in pastors to get my mom conformed to the idea of losing her child, because the doctors had no hope. They were trying to get my mom used to the idea of, he's gonna go. But something, she says, rose inside of her, and she ran them off their room. And it was like maybe that day or the day later, I woke up and they still couldn't find anything. They were all thinking, it was something we missed maybe when he was born. He was premature, but there was none of that. I just woke up, and there again, God healed me again. And it was just, growing up was always like that. I mean, we started attending the church. We always went to church. My aunt had a church. We attended her church for a long time. And then when I was about 8 or 9 is when we actually started going to the church in Brazil called Rema. And that's where later on, we actually went to that church because we heard that there were Americans coming. It was 1989. It might have been the time I met Connie. And, we went there to visit, and, we just fell in love with the people there. And we started attending church there. But even though I was a young man, and God started teaching me His ways there, the church, and it was a struggle with me because I lived in downtown São Paulo, which got millions of people. I attended school there, and I liked the world. I liked the things the world had to offer, and my family had some money, and whatever we wanted, we pretty much had it. And I mean, I got into, the world and all the wishes of wanting brand name clothes and the video games. I had a lot of things, and I liked them. And as I got older, I knew it was time, getting to a point that I was going to have to make a decision of, am I going to walk with God? I knew a lot of things I was doing was wrong. But I liked when I went to church, and especially in 1998 was the first time I actually came to a seminar here in Spindale, and I just, like I said, I like the world, and I thought it brought me satisfaction, but it was something that was temporary, and I just trying to keep it short. But I came in 98, and I saw for the first time people that were really, really happy, and I knew I didn't have the happiness that they had, and the young people my age, and it was different. There was something different about them, and I really liked that. And long story short, I turned 18. When I turned 18, in Brazil, you cannot drive until you turn 18. And growing up, my parents always turned me away from, violence and, things like, I became very attached to cars and sports and cars especially. It was a big, what the Bible calls an idol in my life. And, this scripture verse that tells you that, little children, keep your heart from idols, because anything that takes the place of God in your heart. And that's what cars did to me. I mean, I could look at a car, I could tell you the make, the model, how many horsepower had in the engine. And when I turned 18, my grandma gave me, she didn't know how bad I was about this, but she gave me a blank check and said, go buy your car. And I mean, that was it. I said, I knew this is it. I want the world. I don't want God. I'm moving on. And I lived hell for over a week. I'm, just made several wrong decisions, and I opened myself up to everything I could think. Went after the girls, didn't do drugs or nothing, because I wasn't, I knew better than that. But I mean, we did the drinking, and But I tell you, at the end of that week, I was so empty. I was so miserable. I was so angry with myself. I mean, I literally was breaking stuff up inside my house because I was so angry. I did have a bad problem with anger. Actually, delayed me in school. I even, that's another thing that God delivered me from. Because a lot of people, when I tell them that, they're like, "You were angry? You mean?" No, yes, I broke stuff. I broke the TV one time because I was just so angry, and you know, it's just things that God do for you. And I really wanted the world. I thought I got that check, and I'm gonna go buy my car, and here I go. But there was this song that never left me, and it says that there's a longing in my heart that only you can feel. And when I did go to church, I felt something special about that song, about everything, and I felt satisfied. Felt that empty was gone, and I knew good and well that night I was so angry because here I have everything. I've done everything I thought I wanted to do to be happy. That's what the word preaches to you. You gotta have do this, do this, do this, And I had done it all, and I was so empty. I was so angry, and I was angry with myself. And one day we had somebody said, "Oh, we're going to, there's a group going to the U.S. Do you want to go back to Spindale?" And I decided to go, and that's about 2001, I believe. That's when I came, and God. I just met all these people that just really wanted God, and and that made such a difference in my life. And I know there's this script. I don't have much time, but there's a scripture in Ecclesiastes that talks about how God plants eternity in the heart of man, and that's the truth. It was planted in there. I couldn't do nothing against it. I tried. I mean, like I said, I went after the girls. When I did everything that was supposed to be happy, that everything that you saw on the TV, and these people they look so happy. They're not. And that's what I found out the hard way. That there's a much better way. That's just serving God. And then after moving here, I attended to college. I've never been a slave, never ever forced me to come here. I always wanted to come here. I've been back and forth several times. So anybody that makes an allegation that to this church that the Brazilians are forced to if anything, I gained weight when I got here, and I know several of the other people that might have made these allegations kind of happened the same thing, So you're not forced to work. They loved being here. I was side by side with them. I knew them personally, and I know these people that's out there doing that. I don't know those people. So something happened to them. Why? They were so happy, so satisfied, right? Walking side with us, and now, they had cell phones, they had cars, and yet they're slaves. How can a slave do all that? If you have your cell phone, you can call whoever you want. They came back and forth plenty times, just like I did. There was plenty times they could have escaped if they wanted to, but there's no reason to escape because they were not escaping. They never did escape. They just wanted to be here, just like I do. But now they changed their mind. So I just know, then of course being here, attended college, graduated from college, and got a master's degree as well. And then along the way met my wife. Which, if somebody says that we get put together, somebody, if somebody did that, was God, because you couldn't have picked. I've looked out in the world for the right person, for the one I wanted, and it wouldn't have been her, but I could not have picked anybody more special, more friend, the best partner to have than her, is everything that I ever need is her. And then God later blessed us with our son, which there was another miracle because she had some medical condition. The doctor said, "You don't never gonna have a child." And there again, we got on our knees and we cried out to God, and God made it happen. So I don't have any reason to doubt God, no reason to, I don't know, I'm blessed. I don't know, it's kind of short period of time, but.
Well, good morning, everyone. And I grew up in Connecticut, and all my life, as a small child, I was very aware of God, but we never went to church until I was about, I would say, probably the age of 5. And at the age of 5, I remember going to my mom and saying, "Why don't we go to church like everybody else?" But I didn't understand the real meaning of what I had said. And so we started going to church, and my mom started seeking God, really, because she knew there had to be something more than what we had. So we went to, from the age of 5 to the age 8, we went to a lot of churches, a lot of different churches. I mean, I've been to Hispanic churches. I mean, I've been to, I think, probably every denominational, every kind of church there was. And at age 8, we were in a grocery store and we were leaving, and I, you know, growing up, there always used to be these boards that they posted stuff on. And there was this bulletin, and it was inviting anybody that wanted to come to a revival, and in a neighboring town. So my mom's like, "We're going. We are going."
And tell them where you're from, Danielle.
I'm from Connecticut. So, in this town, little did we know, this revival was at a church that happened to be affiliated with the church here in North Carolina. So that's how it all started. And so we were there probably maybe 4 years, and some things started happening in the church. But in the meantime, we had come in 1992 for a seminar here, a children's seminar, and that was the first time I came and met people that really, really loved God. And that meant a lot to me because that's what I had been seeking all my life. Mm-hmm. And so we came and we stayed a week, and I mean, I made so many friends I didn't even know what to do. I mean, I was so happy here, and I would have been about 9 then. So we went back, and we were still going to the other church, and so like I said, some things had happened in the church, and it didn't go well, and so the church split. But there were some ministers in the church that started coming back here, and so we would travel back and forth for seminars, and we did that for a long time. But I'll back up a little bit. You know, growing up, my dad wasn't around a whole lot. He had a very serious blood condition, so he was very sick, or he also worked for the government, so he worked a lot. And as a small child, not having a father around a lot, it really hurts, and you don't realize what kind of damage that does in you. But I always felt like there was an empty place in my life, and I didn't know why. And you know, my dad, he was so sick at some points, he was up in the hospital. He'd be in there for 6 months. And at the time, there were laws that if you were under age 12, you couldn't go up. And so I had a hard time believing, was he really there or not? So all my life, I grew up not really having a father figure in my life. And so again, I'm growing up. By the age of probably 11 or 12, the pulls of the world got so strong. I didn't even know how to handle myself. I knew logically what was right. I knew that right and wrong, what Jesus had established. But at the same time, the pulls were so strong in my life. I knew that if something didn't happen, I wasn't going to make it with Jesus. And so in the 7th grade, my mom began to homeschool me, because that would at least get me out of the environment of the public schools where the pulls were so bad. So from the grade of 7th grade till 10th grade, I was homeschooled. And that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I began to have a little bit of stability in my life, and I didn't have peer pressure to do whatever the others were doing, even though I knew it was wrong. And then when I got to the summer before 11th grade, my sister already had moved here, and because she's 10 years older than I am, and I really, really wanted to come. And my mom's like, well, we got to ask your dad. Because at this point, my dad didn't go to church at all. So I went and asked him, and he said, yes, you can go. And that was the best life-changing experience, I think, that ever happened to me, because I had no idea what was totally in store for me. And so that was 1998. I moved here, and I finished the last 2 years of high school here in the Christian school at Word of Faith. And those were some of the happiest times of my life, because I had friends, I had family, I had everything I could ask for, and I was so happy. Nobody made me come here. I wanted to come. And that's a big thing. I mean, I left my parents and I came. Even though I lived with my sister, I mean, that's a big thing. You leave your parents to come. And so I graduated in 2000. And we have groups in our church that we split up into classes, and so it'll be high school or young marrieds or college age or whatever. And at the time, Brooke and Kent Covington taught a class, and I was in there, and they really became more than ministers. They were parents to me. Kent Covington really became the father I never really had in my life all the time. And I can never be more grateful. I mean, my mom is so grateful that they were in my life, because I couldn't have asked for any better parents. And I love my mom. And my dad has since passed away, but I love my mom. But I am very grateful for Kent and Brooke Covington, because it was a world of a difference to make stability in my life. And, a lot of people, their name gets smeared over this whole conspiracy, and they are some of the most precious people in the world. And grandmother and granddad, that's what I call them, Sam and Jane, because they were grandparents to me, of grandparents I never really had, because we weren't very close with my grandparents. I mean, we're like a family here. And so as we were in this class, we ended up in the college age class, and that's actually where I met Rafael. And again, I would have never thought about him, never really, but God did that. God put him in my life. Because, if I had gone out and tried to pick whoever I really, really thought, and I couldn't have done a better job than what God gave me. And like Connie said, and like Rafael said, our son is a miracle, because when I was 18, the doctors told me I would either never have children or it would be nearly impossible. And when I told him that, he's like, the doctors aren't God.
Rafael said that.
He said the doctors are not God. And I knew I could go with his faith. Mm-hmm. And we cried out to God, and we have the most precious son that we could have ever asked for. Vibrant, very exuberant little boy, and just sweet. He is so sweet, and he loves people, and he loves his life. He loves his family. He's so excited to be with his class and his friends. I mean, he loves Jesus. Mm-hmm. He really loves Jesus. And that means more to me than anything, that little boy loves Jesus. He really does. And that's probably one of the most precious things you can have, is to have a child that really loves Jesus. And he loves his life and his class, and he gets so excited to go to school because he's in kindergarten. And I mean, you couldn't ask for a better life, and I'm just really, really grateful for what God's done for us and what God's given us, and the family God's given us. We couldn't ask for better.
I just wanted to say one more thing too, as far as when I moved here in 2001, Kent and Brooke Covington opened their home for me and some other friends of mine at this time. And like you said, he helped me transition from that little boy, immature, that didn't know what life was all about, to becoming a man of God. And, and he was such an example for me. I mean, he was always there. We could talk to him about anything. He would always listen. He didn't say a lot, but, his words are always very meaningful. And I mean, they still stick with me. I'm forever grateful for having the opportunity. Even, Mama Brooke, as I call her, I mean, they were like parents, like she said. They took us in. They taught us when we had any problem, if we needed anything physically, spiritually, they wanted to help us. They wanted to provide us. I could talk to them about anything. I still can. And, it's just the picture that people make that they are. I mean, it's just, I don't know where they got that from. Now when they were here next to us, they acted the same way. They love those people now. So I don't understand that, but I all I can say, I could never thank them enough. I mean, he really, like I said, I was a boy that was very immature, spent money like unbelievable. He sat me down and said, wait a minute, let's do this the right way. I mean, just little things like that, but it means a lot. I mean, it made me realize what life was all about. When I felt things that, he's taught me how to walk those things through. I mean, I lost my grandma when I was here, and I mean, they were there to comfort me, help me, walk me right through it. It's something so, I mean, I love them too, so.
Well, one thing, this is the first I've heard Rafael's story. It's hard for me to believe that he was ever angry at anything. Because I remember Rafael the first time I met him. I don't know if you remember Rafael and Adolfo. At the time that I met you was when they had lost a mother or father. I don't remember.
Father.
And I remember how tender and precious you were with them. So the heart was there all along. So for him to ever be angry, it's kind of hard for me to. I do believe what you're saying, but tell us a little bit about what's happened here too with your families, because now your mother's here, and your mom and dad are back and forth here. So we don't split up families.
No.
When she said that she left her mom and dad in Connecticut, she didn't really leave them. She moved here because they knew it was the best choice for her at that time in her life. But tell them a little bit about that too. It's about how the connections there.
So I moved in '98. In 2003, my mom moved here. My dad chose not to go the ways of God, so he did not. But and he wanted the best for us, but he didn't want the best for him, and I never could understand that. And he ended up dying because his physical condition really killed him. It really did. And it's a sad story, but that's what happened. Mm-hmm. But my mom moved here, and she actually lives with my sister, and we live 5 minutes apart. So, no, we do not split up families. And his mom kind of comes back and forth a lot. And she helps us with our son, and she lives with us when she's here. And his dad comes back and forth, and he spends time with us. Actually, he's getting ready to come, and we are so excited. But the church does not split up families. I mean, we are one big family. His mom is my mom's his mom, and that's the way it is. Exactly. I mean, his dad has been a dad to me. He's also been a dad. I mean, he'd give me anything I needed, anything to make sure. I went through a physical situation, and it was hard. It was a hard time, and he was right there with us too. And anything we needed, our parents have been there for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, my mom, I was never made to move here. I wanted to move here. I asked my parents if they allowed me. They were in agreement, and they come here, like she said. They used to come often. My mom, now that my son is born, she spends probably like 10 months here in the States with us and goes back about every couple months of the year to Brazil. My dad's coming they're in full agreement. Their bodies never been split. There's never been separation there. Never. They wanted us to be here because they knew we were happy here. And that's the truth. I mean, there's never been.
And I love both of the moms, because their moms are my age. They're with me, but Rafael's mom spends a lot of time in our K-5 class when she's here with Victor, and I'm sitting there with Carl in the mornings. And now her mom Jill is in there with Victor, some kind of filling in for your mom while she's gone. So really, when they say we're family, we are family.
That's right.
And we've just grown up together, and we love each other, and nothing's going to ever change that.
That's right.
Nothing. We thank you for listening in again this morning about the goodness of God. If you want to listen to any of our other videos, please go to our website. It's www.wordoffaithfellowship.org. You can click on the main, one of the main links there on that homepage, and look at some of our videos of some of our past shows. But again, we appreciate you listening again to us this morning, and we hope you have a good day.